Okay, welcome back to the deep dive. You sent us a really interesting stack of sources, and there's one in here that it really grabbed me. It talks about something that sounds pretty major happening right now in software development.
Yeah, it describes it as this, shocking yet surprisingly quiet revolution. It feels big, but maybe not everyone's talking about it loudly just yet.
Right. Because we hear about AI doing a lot of stuff like writing code or helping debug, but the core idea here is, well, it's a bit wild. It suggests you might not actually need to build that traditional visual front end anymore.
Because the AI becomes your front end.
Yes, the AI becomes your front end. That's the headline. So our mission here is to dive into this. What exactly does that mean? What are the technologies driving this? We need to look at what's actually happening today and what does this potentially mean for you, how you build applications, how you interact with them.
Exactly. It's a different way to frame the whole thing.
So traditionally, let's think about the front-end developer role for a second. The sources mention this is often, the most time-consuming, sometimes frustrating part of the job. What's involved there?
Oh, it's building the whole visual layer. The buttons, the forms, managing application state, wrestling with CSS to get everything just right, pixel perfect, dealing with like browser compatibility across tons of different devices. It's incredibly detailed work, right?
It's like building this bespoke little house just for the user to live and click in.
Pretty much. But the central argument here is that you have this convergence now of powerful AI models and, importantly, this new interoperability protocol called MCP that suggests a really fundamental shift away from that traditional model.
Okay, MCP, we definitely need to unpack that. But the shift itself, you're saying it's moving from building those visual interfaces for humans to building structured capabilities, basically API functions, for AI agents to control directly.
That's the heart of it. Instead of building that layer that translates human clicks into back-end actions, you're focusing on making the back-end actions themselves directly consumable and understandable by an AI.
I love the analogy the article uses here. It's like moving from being an instrumentalist,
Yeah.
Playing one specific piece of the orchestra perfectly, to being the conductor.
Right.
You're orchestrating this whole symphony of AI and APIs.
It's definitely operating at a higher level of abstraction. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about APIs for a second because there's material is clear. APIs are really the foundation of pretty much all modern apps, right? Web, mobile, desktop, they're all using APIs to talk.
They are. They're the digital glue, the messengers behind the scenes.
Yeah.
You have internal APIs, which are your app's core logic, saving a document, creating a user, calculating something.
Right.
And then external APIs, which connect you to outside services, Google Maps, Stripe, Open Weather Map, that kind of thing.
And the traditional front end, that visual layer, has been that key visual bridge, right? Taking human action, like clicking submit, and translating it into the correctly formatted API call for the backend.
Right. It's been that translator for user actions. But as the sources point out, MCP, Model Control Protocol, is the technology that really changes this equation.
So what is MCP? What does it do that's different? The article calls it a standardized way to make your APIs agent-controllable.
Think of it kind of like a universal translator mixed with an instruction manual, but specifically for an AI. A standard API speaks a very technical language, right? HTTP, JSON. An AI, which processes things in natural language, doesn't intuitively grasp how to use that rigid structure to take action.
So MCP bridges that gap.
Exactly. It presents your API's capabilities, your functions, to the AI agent in a way that the AI can understand and leverage. It essentially tells the AI, hey, I have these tools you can use. There's one called Get Weather for City. If you want to use it, you need to give me a city name. Do that, and I'll give you back the weather data.
Oh, okay. So it's not just giving the AI data to read, which is more like RAG, retrieval augmented generation.
Yeah, that's a really key distinction the material makes. RAG is about giving the AI access to data. MCP is about giving the AI access to capability. The control part is crucial. It moves the AI from just being able to read and synthesize information to being able to actively do things by calling APIs.
That makes total sense. Because if an AI agent can understand what you want in natural language, what's the weather in Paris? Or find me the best price for this thing and buy it.
Yeah.
And then it can intelligently figure out which API tool it needs and use MCP to call it.
Yeah.
You're potentially just bypassing the need for a visual interface entirely for that task.
It kind of melts away the need to navigate a GUI by clicking around.
Exactly. Which brings us back to the developer role, the whole instrumentalist versus conductor idea.
Yeah.
What does the conductor actually do in this new AI-centric world?
Well, the traditional instrumentalist was focused on perfecting their specific instrument, the pixel-perfect UI, the state management code. The conductor's focus is much broader. They're not playing every note, they're leading the whole
They're
performance.
not building every button themselves.
No. The sources break their role down into like four key parts. First, they write the score, which is really about API design, designing clean, logical APIs that represent the core actions or capabilities of your application. That's the fundamental music.
Got it. And then they recruit the musicians, which is selecting tools.
Right. Choosing which internal and external APIs are going to be part of your orchestra. Maybe Stripe is your percussion section for payments, and Google Maps handles the strings with location data.
I like that analogy a lot. And then provide the sheet music, which is MCP generation.
Precisely. You wrap those APIs in MCP servers. You're basically creating the clear, standardized manual that tells the AI conductor exactly how to use each one of those instruments, each of those tools.
And finally, lead the performance, which is orchestration and prompting. This is where the AI agent is doing the work, but the developer is still directing it.
Yes, you're guiding the AI with higher level goals, strategies, constraints. You're enabling it to intelligently chain those API musicians together to perform complex tasks based on user requests.
So the core process described is you wrap your APIs as an MCP server, you make it accessible to the AI agent, like running it locally, you attach that server to the agent, and then you configure the agent so it knows about these new tools.
That's the workflow, and it lets you build apps in a totally different way.
Let's make this really concrete. The sources provide a step-by-step walkthrough for building a simple weather app using this method, but crucially without building a traditional visual interface.
This part's pretty neat. You want a weather app where you can just ask for the weather.
Yeah. So step 1, find and select your API.
Okay, so the article suggests using a tool like Postman, which is popular for working with APIs. They apparently have an API network and an MCC generator built in. This is where you select your instruments.
Okay.
You go into their network, search for, say, Open Weather Map.
And you'd find the relevant API collection and pick which specific functions, which endpoints you want the AI to be able to use, like getting the current weather or the forecast. You're choosing the capabilities.
Exactly. You import those into your workspace. That's step 1. Done.
Okay, step 2, generate the MCP server.
This is where you get the sheet music. Using the MCP generator feature in Postman, you point it to that Open Weather Map collection you just imported. You just hit generate.
And it automatically writes server code for you. That's kind of wild.
It is. It produces the necessary code for a Node.js server, including a file to manage dependencies and a template for configuration secrets. You download that package.
Okay, so you have the code for the server. Step 3, set up the server on your machine.
Right. You'd take that generated code, extract it, put it somewhere on your computer. You'd open a terminal and run a standard command like npm install to install any necessary supporting software based on the package Postman gave you.
Got it. And there's that really crucial security step they emphasize here.
Yes. Super important. You have a template file for configuration, often called .env.example or something. A critical step is renaming that to just .env and putting your sensitive information, like your actual API key from Open Weather Map, in that file securely.
So you don't accidentally check your secret key into version control or share it?
Absolutely critical. Without that key, the server can't actually talk to the Open Weather Map service. Once that's configured, you just start the server running, typically from that same terminal window with something like node mcp server.js.
And it would just run locally, like listening on a port, say, port 3000.
Exactly. You need to keep that running because your AI agent is going to talk to this local server.
Right, server's running. Step 4, connect it to your AI agent. The source uses an AI native editor called Cursor, as an example, but others might work too.
Yeah. In an editor like that, you'd go into its settings and find where it manages external tools or servers. You'd add a new connection. You'd give it a name, say, My Weather Agent. Tell it where to find the server code you just set up. Maybe the command to start it if needed.
So you're pointing the AI agent to the location of this new manual, this new set of tools.
Precisely. You enable it, and the editor shows you that the AI now knows about specific tools like Get Weather from CityNam tool. The AI has been given its sheet music, basically.
And step 5 is the fun part. You test it using just natural language.
The magic happens. You go to the AI chat interface within the editor or wherever you interact with the agent and just type your request. Like, example, what's the current weather in London, UK, and give it to me in Celsius.
Okay, let's quickly walk through the AI's thought process here, the orchestration bit.
Sure. So the AI agent gets your natural language query. It figures out your intent, you want the weather. It looks through its available tools and sees the My Weather Agent connection offers a Get Weather from City Name tool.
Okay.
It then extracts the necessary details from your sentence, London, UK, for the city, and notes the request for Celsius.
It understands the parameters just from your sentence. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's the AI understanding the intent and mapping it to the tool's requirements. It then constructs a call to your local MCP server, invoking that specific tool with those parameters. Your MCP server receives the request, uses the secure OpenWeatherMap API key you configured, and makes the actual call to the OpenWeatherMap API out on the internet,
OpenWeatherMap sends the data back to your local server.
which sends it back to the AI agent. The agent gets the raw data, parses it, and then synthesizes a human-friendly answer for you based on your original request. Something like, the current weather in London, UK is.
No buttons, no input forms, no complex UI state management, just pure logic, intent, and AI-driven functional orchestration. That quote from the source really hammers it home. You built a functional app interaction using the AI as the interface.
It's a completely different user experience built on the back-end capabilities, really.
And the source talks about a major benefit of this, eliminating what they call UX debt or front-end debt. What are we talking about there?
It's all that time and effort we mentioned earlier, the ongoing cost of getting pixels just right, dealing with the endless churn of JavaScript frameworks, browser compatibility issues, managing incredibly complex application state, all that detailed, often frustrating work on the visual layer.
And in this agent-controlled world, a lot of that debt just goes away, evaporates.
A significant amount of it, yes. When the primary interface isn't a visual GUI you build by hand, but natural language talking to APIs orchestrated by AI, your development focus shifts dramatically. You're not managing pixels, you're doing functional orchestration.
So developer time is spent designing really clean, powerful APIs, figuring out the best strategy for how the AI selects and chains those tools.
Right. How does the AI intelligently combine different capabilities to fulfill complex requests? That becomes the main challenge. And the user experience isn't about how pretty the buttons are. It's about the intelligence, the reliability, the effectiveness of the AI's orchestration.
Right.
Does the agent understand what you want? Does it pick the right tools? Does it actually complete the task successfully? That's the new UX.
So the conductor's judged on the quality of the symphony, not how shiny the trumpets are.
Exactly. It's a deeper kind of UX measurement, I think.
And the sources emphasize this isn't just theoretical. You can build this today. They give examples like the ultimate AI travel assistant.
That's a great one. Imagine asking for a super complex trip plan. Specific dates, budget, interests, flights from a certain airport, certain type of lodging. The AI orchestrates calls to different APIs, flight search, hotel APIs, Airbnb, restaurant reservations, maybe even museum or tour booking APIs. And it synthesizes this entire itinerary for you.
Or the proactive personal financial agent. What were my biggest spending categories last month versus the month before? Also, can you pay off my credit card bill in full?
Calls your financial API via something like Plaid to get transaction data, analyzes it, then calls your bank's payment API to execute the transfer, gives you a summary and confirmation, all from one natural language prompt. It's powerful stuff.
The on-demand AI design assistant. I need a logo concept. Make it minimalist with black, white, and bronze. Once I pick one, create a social media banner using it.
Uses an image generation API like DALL-E 3 for concepts.
Yeah.
Once you choose, it calls something like the Figma API to create a design file, place the logo, add text to a template, returns a link to the finished design maybe.
And the automated e-commerce shopping assistant. Find me the best price for this laptop with these specs across Amazon, Best Buy, and B&H Photo.
Calls their product APIs, maybe does some intelligent scraping, compares everything, price, shipping, availability, summarizes the top options, maybe even adds it to your cart if you've authorized it. The pattern is consistent. Define the functional capabilities with APIs, and AI agents chain them together to solve complex problems.
Now, the sources are also careful to call the death of the front end a provocation. They aren't saying traditional GUIs are going away entirely.
Oh, absolutely not. That would be an overstatement. This isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. GUIs are still superior for a lot of tasks.
Like highly visual creative work.
Yeah, think Photoshop, Figma, 3D modeling software like Blender. You need direct tactile manipulation that natural language can't replicate. At least not yet. That kind of interaction is still best visually.
Or browsing, like scrolling through Netflix or shopping on Amazon. You need that visual layout for discovery, for serendipity. You don't always know exactly what you want.
Exactly. Complex data visualization too, dashboards, things like Tableau or Power BI. Interacting directly by clicking and filtering is often much more intuitive for exploration than typing queries.
And high-stakes actions, like a bank transfer or confirming a medical procedure, you definitely want a clear visual screen showing you exactly what's about to happen before you hit confirm.
Yeah, for safety, transparency, and clarity, a GUI is still often the best approach there.
Yeah.
You need that explicit confirmation step.
So the most likely future isn't one or the other, but probably a hybrid model.
That's what the material points towards, and it makes a lot of sense. You combine a visual GUI for tasks where direct manipulation, discovery, or clear confirmation is needed, but integrate a powerful AI agent may be accessible via a chat interface within the GUI itself for complex multi-step processes, deep searches, or tricky configurations.
Like using a project management app.
Mhm.
You use the visual board to drag and drop tasks, maybe see the overall status.
Right.
But you tell the AI agent, find all my overdue tasks in this project, change their priority to high, notify the team on Slack that I'm working on them, and schedule a follow-up meeting for tomorrow morning.
Exactly. The GUI gives you the visual context you need, and the AI agent handles the complex cross-system execution that would take you many manual clicks and steps otherwise. It leverages the strengths of both.
So wrapping up, the really big takeaway from these sources, the transformative idea. It's this fundamental shift from building visual front ends for human users to architecting structured APIs for AI users.
That's the paradigm shift. Your design language isn't just about aesthetics anymore. It's how well-structured and understandable your API is. Your user experience is becoming less about visual polish and more about the intelligence and reliability of your functional orchestration, how effectively the AI agent uses your tools.
And your front end is increasingly the AI agent itself, with natural language as the interface. The visual front end isn't like dead, but it's evolved. It's now just one possible surface you can interact with voice, text, chat, or others, while the underlying functional interface is being built for AI agents.
It really makes you rethink how you design and build software from the ground up. It's a different mindset.
It totally does.
Yeah.
And if you're involved in building software at all, this is something you really have to grapple with. The sources leave us with this really provocative idea, something to think about. If you're still building every button by hand, maybe try wrapping just one API in MCP and letting an AI control it.
See how it feels to be the conductor, not just the coder. Just try it out.
Yeah, it definitely shifts your perspective on the tools you use, the applications you build, and how we might interact with software a lot sooner than we think. Something to mull on for sure.
It's exciting and, I guess, a little daunting at the same time. A big change.
Absolutely. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.